Hey guys, welcome back to Chevy Kustoms on the YouTube. Ear ride's still holding ear, so that's good, front and back I think. I think the front is. Yep, she's still up, she's been up for a week now. I have had a little play with the back. I relocated the top bag mounts, just took them in about 10-12 millimeters, so about just under half an inch sort of thing, just so when it's laid out they didn't kind of like fall over themselves as much, because they were doing that a little bit. Not major, it could have been alright, but I was just kind of like bothered by it. But anyway, this week got options. Got exhaust stuff and I've got paint stuff. So, but it's just about to start raining I think, so I'm gonna start working on this Firewall and get that ready to paint. So let's get at it. Okay, so probably wondering why I'm going to paint the Firewall and not all that at the same time. I know it sounds real Mickey Mouse, and it is kind of Mickey Mouse way of doing things, but I just don't have the room to do this. I've got the truck over there and I don't like parking it outside because it's old, and it, you know, I parked it out there for a few months out in the carport and it got a bit degraded just in that. So I want to do this Firewall and we'll mask that off, and you know, then we can, when the body's on the chassis, we can just, you know, do all the rest, and that way we can put the guards and that on and paint the whole car as a one unit sort of thing, if that makes sense, rather than in pieces. So yeah, as I've mentioned before, I want to paint the Firewall before it goes on the chassis, because the motor's already in the chassis and I won't be able to get to the whole Firewall while the motor's in there, you know, and I don't want to take it out again. That's all there is to it. So let's get at it. What I've got to do though is, this is a 2K epoxy primer, epoxy etch primer. So I've got to give this a bit of a once over, just give everything a bit of a key to stick to, and I've got a bit of body work to do, which I haven't really done any of that for quite some time, so bear with me. It'll be amateur hour, or amateur like 2 weeks probably to get this straight, but yeah, we're gonna get at it. So choice. Okay, so if you can hear that, that's the rain. So I made the smart choice in deciding to have a crack at doing some work on the Firewall today. So I'm just going to go over, give all this epoxy a bit of a key up, so I can you know, put filler in the bits where it needs filler and stuff. So it's going to be a long, boring process, but that's what I'm doing. I'm just using a bit of 240, just sanding it by hand. So I've got to go over everything that I have epoxied already, and then we'll get into doing some body filler. We'll see how that goes. Still going. Pretty much done with the first pass of the sanding. I'm just kind of going through with a bit of a red Scotch-Brite. Never really used these before, but I've seen them on the old interwebs and the television and stuff like that. I haven't sanded any of that. For getting into kind of like tight spaces and just giving them a bit of a key up there. Got a sanded one there. I haven't done that. But yeah, nearly there. So I'll finish this up and vacuum it all off, dust it all off and that, and then start laying down some bog, as we call it here in New Zealand. I've heard it referred to as bondo, we call it bog. I've heard it mud, smooth, all sorts of shit like that. But if you hear me talking about bog, that's what I'm doing. Alrighty, so got some bog, filler, whatever you want to call it, mud, smooth. Look at that, buy a 4 litre tin and get 3 litres. It's always good. Sneaky. Anyway, whew, she's smelly. I forgot how smelly this stuff is. Gotta mix some smooth bog mud up and get into bogging up this firewall. I haven't done this sort of thing for ages. I never really liked it, like, you know, because I tend to like put heaps on and then sand it all off, and put heaps on, sand it all off. So I'm gonna take a little different approach this time round, and I'm gonna put some on, you know, a thin skim on, sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like just a thin coat. And how does this work? Does that unscrew? Oh, it does too. And you know, thin coat, knock it back, and then another coat, knock it back, and hopefully be maybe 1, 2, 5 coats. I don't really want to go that far. Is that 2%? So, right, mix up some of this, start spreading it around. I've heard there's a proper way to spread this stuff, but not get bubbles in it. So this is not a tutorial, by the way, this is just me bogging up a cart. Alright, take one of each. Plastic, steel, don't know which is better. Alrighty, got my first skim on there. Okay, I got a little bit I shouldn't have started up there. That was the kind of more the dorkiest, trickiest thing for someone who hasn't done this for a while. So I just got to let that go off a bit, and then I can kind of start roughing that in, and then hopefully give it another skim, and then get some primer on, like high build primer, to hide all my sins that I made doing this. Also, just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a body man, panel beater, spray painter, any of that, so if you see me doing shit really bad and really wrong, that is why. No formal training whatsoever, I just like having a go at shit by myself. Way too cheap to pay someone to do this for me, so I have to spend hours doing it the long, slow way, my way, the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, let's just watch some bog dry. I should really go and smooth off some of that, the lumpier, bigger stuff, so I don't have to sand it so much. Okay, so still waiting for this to dry enough that I can do some sanding on it. So I'll just wait. Might go and have a cup of coffee with the wife, since she offered. But yeah, so been a while. These areas are pretty tricky for someone amateur like me to kind of get into, but not really making excuses, but I'm just kind of making excuses, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not very good at it. I hate this part of the job, but it's part of it, you know, and it's all a step closer to getting, you know, some paint on this thing. Would be so cool. Oh, that's what I forgot to tell you. I've got a colour. Yeah, I picked a colour for the Firewall, at least anyway. But yeah, so I went and picked up that on yesterday, Friday. Today's Saturday, so I picked that up on Friday. So I got a colour, and you're just going to have to wait and see what it is. So you have to keep watching this video, because it'll be at the end, I imagine, almost, because I've got to clear over the top of it, so you'll see the colour, and then I'll clear it, and then you know what I'm saying. So here we have it. Just waiting, watching bog dry. Quite riveting stuff, really. Probably should have more doors open because it's a bit fumey. So I'm wondering whether I should seam seal these other joints and that around the edge of this firewall. I probably should. Not sure at what stage. I probably should have done it before I started doing all this, in reality. But yeah, I'll sand this bog and then maybe seam seal it and then prime it, or prime it and then seam seal it. I don't know. Using these 2K primers that have got pot lights and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so that's the first skim of Bondo Bog Body Filler, kind of roughed back. Time for a second skim, so I'll get onto that. Might chuck a little bit more hardener in it this time. I don't think I put quite enough in the first time round. She took a while to kind of go off and had that kind of sticky, greasy kind of carry on for, especially the thinner stuff. The thicker stuff went off really well. The thin, where I really kind of trying to feather it out, that just was not good. But yeah, so I'm gonna give it another little schmutz over there and fill in some more of this holage and dentage and ripply stuff. A bit of a dip there, a few little things in that here and there, but I'm gonna make some more. Okay, so put a little bit more hardener in. It started going off too quick, so that's as far as I got. So I'm just going to make up some more. I know you should just do a little bit, work it, move on, work it, move on, but I get impatient, so I'm going to kind of coat up this and then come back to this first bit and sand it, hopefully. Alrighty, so just been cutting down this bit because I put this bit and this bit and this bit on, and then it started going off. So that and that all got done later. You know what I'm saying? So just been cutting it down just with some 40, which is pretty harsh. I do have a tendency to kind of overcut it early, so I'm trying to train myself to not take too much off with the heavy shit. Now I'm going down to some 120. As for why I'm actually using these, it's because I've got them. I bought rolls of this stuff years ago and I've still got it, so that's why I'm using it. I do have some finer paper to kind of finish it up more when we get to that stages tomorrow, hopefully. Anyway, carry on sanding. I've got a whole car of this to do. It might come up alright. Won't be perfectly laser straight, but you know, as you can see, there's some high spots, but I'm not going to be chasing those around. Gosh, no. Hey, yeah, there's going to be other stuff in the engine bay that's going to hide that firewall. If I wanted it super laser straight, I probably would have just built a new one, and then it would have just been wiggly around the edges where I welded it in. So I'll carry on sanding. This reminds me of that Elton John song, I'm Still Sanding. I'm still sanding. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still sanding. I'm gonna use my block, otherwise the engineer will tell me off. Got it. Didn't think I was going to make it, but we got there in the end. Yep. Don't look at that. Still sanding. Well, that escalated, didn't it? Check it out. I have got second skim sanded back. One more light skim on a couple of places, not everywhere, and then just another quick buzz over the whole lot with some finer paper. At this point it's finished in 120, which should probably be alright for the high build primer to go on top of. I don't really know. Yeah, a couple of little divots there. There's a couple of bits up the top here I've got to do, and there's just a couple of little pinhole-y things I want to fill up before I go and squirt some primer on here. But as you can see, I'm a dusty mess, and it's Saturday night. Rock and roll lifestyle, baby. Yeah, no, this is me. But anyway, till tomorrow. Hey guys, alright, next day, guess what? Still sanding, so got my, hopefully my final little skim, just a few little touch-ups, a couple of places. I just got to sand some more and shape those. I'm done with the 40 grit now, going straight into these last little bits with a bit of 120, and then I'll finish them off with, I don't know, 240, 220, something like that, whatever I've got. I think I've got some 240, so I might get in the final with some 240, and then we can start masking off for putting some primer in that on this Mamma Jamma, shall we say. Alright, I'll carry on sanding. I've got to go get some more sandpaper, it's over there. This stuff. Update. I'm still sanding. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay guys, update. Right, I'm not sanding. I've had enough sanding for now. This is as far as I'm going to sand this firewall before priming. So I'm going to have a bit of a clean up, kind of keep some of the dust down, and mask off some areas that I don't want to be blowing primer through and stuff like that. And then blow some primer around, I reckon. See how it goes. I've never used this 2K primer before, I don't think. Some of this stuff's a bit new to me. I'm like old school Dulon man sort of thing, and I will be putting Dulon on top of this primer. So just fair warning, I'm not doing a 2K finish on this car. So if that's what you're waiting for, you're going to be disappointed. But I am using 2K primers because I feel they do seal it up better than the 1K stuff. The old Dulon primers were pretty porous, so if you left them for any period of time, they had to all come off again, so moisture would just get soaked into them. And I'd see guys wet sanding that stuff, and I never understood it. People wet sanding 1K primers because they soaked up the moisture. Yeah, that's why I'm using 2K primers. I'd like to do more 2K stuff with top coating and that, but I sort of didn't want to do it on this whole project. I might do some other bits and pieces in 2K just for, you know, practice some of the black bracketry and that, but probably not. I'll probably just get lacquer and sweat it all over. But yeah, so that's my thinking, my reasoning. That's why I kind of am going with the paint system that I'm going, and there's probably a lot of people out there who will just lose their mind over that. But there's nothing wrong with a good lacquer paint job. I've done them before and they can last. It's just like anything, it's all preparation, I guess. My prep's not like fully to like mental, like surgical sort of prep. It's just, you know, sand, wipe, paint. Try not to get greasy fingerprints on stuff, but yeah, that's kind of about it really. But anyhow, enough rambling. I've got to clean up, vacuum time. And the other reason why I vacuum is because it actually does keep the dust down. When you just blow it around with a dusting gun, it just moves it around somewhere else and eventually it comes back. So I tend to sort of like try and vacuum as much as I can and then sort of dust off at the end, if you know what I'm saying. Where's my thing at? Where's my kniffy? There it is. Alright, so I'm actually gonna mask off this dash and that. It just means it's less stuff to sand off later. I've already got overspray all over it from the epoxy, but I'm just gonna put a bit of a mask in a couple of places just to make clean up later on a little easier, if you get what I'm saying. Let me roll this so I'm not using newspaper. Really should wear a dust mask too. Yep. I'm going to put this, what's an easy reach. Nope. Nope, it's going to roll off. Oh, on the dusty floor. Loose up there. Oh, look at that. I'm still sanding. Look at that. Where's the day going? Huh? Me? I'm doing alright. Kind of had to decide at some point when to stop sanding. I always tend to over sand when I'm doing like body filler and stuff. I end up, you know, putting it down, sanding it, and sanding too much out of it. And I really should like start smaller, sand, skim over the top, sand. I know how it works. I just do it wrong. Like I just get kind of carried away, and I don't lay it down as nice as it would be. You know, as nice as I would like. But good practice. Again, for the most part, I'm just guessing. Like, I talk to tradesmen and that through my job and stuff, and I quiz them on techniques and stuff. But until you kind of sort of see it done, sometimes it's hard to imagine. You know, I mean, hard to visualize when someone describes what they're doing to on a process like this. So for the most part, I just have it yes, you know, and for the most part it works out okay-ish. Sounds, my battery's going to die. Anyway, I'll carry on masking this off, and then I'll do some priming. Okay, so compressor just had to kick in as soon as I pushed the go button on the GoPro. Pretty much ready to shoot some primer. Just mixed up a half a litre, or you know, maybe 500 ml I think it was. Yeah, so that's half a litre. So I just got to give this a bit of a dust off. I haven't got any tack rags, so I'm just going to have to dust it off the best I can with what I've got and go from there. So, until this battery runs out. Right, okay guys, got a couple of 3 good coats on here. Managed to stick my finger in it and make it all bubbly, so there was a little pinhole. I'll just rub some paint into that and made a mess. Not advisable, but yeah, just before I was about to sort of start shooting the second coat's primer, a mate of mine messaged me to let me know, asked me if I'd seen the latest Half-Ass Customs video. Now, if you don't know what Half-Ass Customs is, Half-Ass Customs is a YouTube channel from Canada, a fellow by the name of Brent. Brent, I should say, not Brent. But he, unfortunately, very sadly, his workshop burnt down a couple of weeks back while he was away on holiday. So pretty devastating. He'd just been working on a really cool little project, a little coupe that he kind of built from rusted out garden art, and been working on it for a couple of months, and all his tooling, he was really well set up. He had presses, brakes, plasma table, the whole 9 yards. A lot of it he either collected over years, or some of it he built himself. And now that's kind of gone at this point. He's had the okay now. I just watched this video to pick through what's left of the building and try and kind of pull out of it what he can, and that's all the little collection of stuff, you know, all the grill shells and hubcaps and all the tools and parts and stuff like that. Even some of the projects that he's got going weren't in his workshop at the time, but the parts were. So a lot of it, you know, got lost, and a lot of the stuff I've been collecting for a long time, you know, kind of, you know, like parts and tools and stuff, gone. So yeah, pretty devastating. It's everyone's worst nightmare when you sort of, you know, welding and electrical and all sorts of crap going on in your garage workshop type of thing. So yeah, if you're not following Half-Assed Customs, go and give them a follow and a shout. He's going to be rebuilding. He's got a couple of channels going. He's got a behind the scenes channel going as well, which will probably be the busy one, rebuilding the workshops. And he's kind of got himself set up in his old little shop, which is about the same size as this, to get going again. So yeah, pretty rough, man. That would be horrible, absolutely horrible. Anyway, back to the Area 51 primer. Starting to cure up all good now, so I'm not sure when I can start sanding this 2K stuff. I don't know how long it needs to kind of go off before I can start getting into it. It's a bit soft still, I can feel that, but especially some of the bits where I kind of pulled it in there a little bit. Kind of laid in a bit more in here and a bit more here, so it's going to be softer for a while. But yeah, I didn't really sand down that bit of bog that well, but there's stuff covers that anyway. There's the steering column thing. I think that covers that. It's on the inside or the outside? Shit, I think that's on the inside, that little plate that's on the bottom of the column. Yeah, I think it is. Yes, I might need to tidy that up a little bit, you know. Anyway, wait for some paint to dry and then do some more sanding. I'm still sanding, yeah. Okay, so just read the technical data sheets on this 2K primer that I've got here now, on how long it takes to dry. So although it's kind of touch dry, it's still kind of pretty soft, you know. So according to the data sheets, if you had a bake oven, 40 minutes in the bake oven, like at 40 degrees or whatever it was, I can't remember what it was, don't quote me on that. If you just at 25 degrees ambient temperatures type of thing, which it is not, it's about 20, you need about 24 hours. So that's it for today. I cannot do any more on this. I was hoping to get some more sanding done. Well, not that I really want to do any more sanding, I just kind of, it's got to be done. Sanding sucks, but yeah, so I've got to let that kind of cure up all properly before I can do any more on it. So no paint today, no colour today, so you're gonna have to wait. Whether I put this out in a video on its own, just primering up the firewall again, or I'll hold this video out until we're getting some paint on here. That's just a bit of a tease, if I didn't put some colour on there after all that, and you guys were just waiting with bated breath to find out. Oh, I did switch it off. Find out what colour I'm going to be painting this firewall, at least the firewall anyway. So might as well close things up and go and find something else to do. It's raining still, so I can't even start the exhaust stuff, so that's it. Oh well, till tomorrow, maybe tomorrow after work or whatever, I might just come down and do an hour or so sanding and just chip away at the blocking it back sort of thing. Not that I'll be blocking it hard out, just sort of flattening it off so it's not too orange peely, because it has got a bit of texture on it. This, it's not too bad. Where I laid it on, it's a bit more, you know, so it's going to take a little bit more flattening it out to get the old Dulon to lay down nice on there. So got to have a good mechanical adhesion for the Dulon to go on there, so that it's not going to be able to eat into itself like it does on normal Dulon primers and things like that. Oh, so till tomorrow or the next day or the day after that or next weekend or something like that, be back. Update. Still sanding, well, wiping at the moment, but sanding, because I'm still sanding. Yeah. What are we doing? We're wet sanding this 2K epoxy primer. Is it epoxy primer? The high build primer? No. So I'm using just 400 wet, and I was doing it dry, sanding it dry, and it was just gumming up the paper. So I decided to try some wet and dry paper, and it's working really quite well. Seems to sort of cut it down nicely without cutting through too easily. It's like flattening it off pretty well. It's just a bit harder to see, I find, like where you've been. You've got to rely on your fingertips to kind of tell you what needs some more. Once it dries out, you can see, but when it's all wet, you kind of really reliant on what it feels like. Looking for that, I don't know what you call it, dry, lumpy feeling, you know what I mean? It's hard to get into some of these little grooves, but doing my best. Just trying, you know. Anywho, I gotta go and pick up my son from work, so be back. I'm gonna put that. I need to wash my hands. Hey guys, back at it. Still sanding. Yeah. I'm here all night. Oh, ready to go. Oh, not using a block. I'm not sure if I covered it all, but so many weird little contours and shapes here that I'm not using a sanding block and stuff to get in there. I just try to not go one way too much. Do lots of little things like this and that. Like sideways, diagonals, back on itself, all that kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? So you don't end up with grooves. Some places you kind of, you know, got these little swage lines and stuff, you kind of got to go in there, something along those lines. But yeah, it's coming up. So for now, I'll just continue to sand for a little while longer. Yeah. I know I did say before, I was talking about people sanding like Dulon primers, wet sanding them sort of thing. You know, I just never sort of, it didn't seem right to me, but yeah, this is a 2K primer and by all accounts should be a little bit more okay with water on it than the old Dulon primer, which is a 1K, very porous. They're the ones that, you know, you see people cover their car in primer and then drive it around and wonder why it's all like surface rusting and stuff. Alrighty. I was just having a look through the little viewfinder to see what it looked like on camera. It's probably looks slightly better on camera than it does in reality. Just been giving it a good wipe down with a lint inducing cloth, trying to get all the stuff out of all the nooks and crannies, all the sort of sanding mud powder stuff. It's a bit of a mission actually. Once it dries on there, it just sticks on there pretty good. So yeah, that's where we're at. Not sanding, wiping. I'm gonna find a cloth that doesn't give off so much lint for the final wipe down and stuff. Probably run a bit of Prepsol or something around there, you know, wax and grease remover stuff. And that's what you're supposed to do in these situations when you're painting something. I have to admit, I don't always, but then I'm not a professional either. I think I've got everything. Can't wait to get onto the big, nice, smooth panels. It'll probably be boring as buggery. Anywho, go and find some cloths that don't give off so much lint. It's a bit rough there still, so a bit more sanding to do yet. Alrighty, so that's that all wiped down, and kind of still more wiping down to go, but that's it, kind of like wiped down the worst of the kind of muddy stuff that gets left over from wet sanding. I don't know what you call it, like sanding mud, residue, stuff like that. From there, yeah, I don't know, I'll be alright. It's going to motor in the way. Sound like a rock bastard. But yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna probably not paint it tonight. It's getting a bit late on a Sunday night to be starting to paint. I'll probably rush it and cock it up, so I might leave that for another day. I was supposed to leave this for like overnight to cure, but it says in the instructions for overpainting. It doesn't say anything about sanding, so I've sanded it before it's fully cured, according to the data sheets and that anyway. There's a lot of residue still on there. I'll definitely have to do some wax and grease remover. You can feel it, grittiness. Yeah, but not today. We'll be back. Hey guys, next day. I'm still, well, I have been sanding. Now I'm Scotch-Briting all these little gaps and stuff, mainly to get out. I gave it a bit of a dry sand today with some 320, and yesterday I was wet sanding with 400, and it kind of, wet sanding was good because it gave me something to do while I was waiting for this to really go off properly. But it's left behind like a lot of this, see, like in there the little kind of light sludgy stuff. It's kind of like a kind of dry residue from the, you know, that I didn't wash off yesterday. So I'm just using the Scotch-Brite to just get that off, turn it back into dust, because I don't know what would happen if you painted over that. I reckon it would, you know, create a film over a little pile of dry dust, and you would end up with potentially pockets that could sort of blister out or something like that. So I want to get as much of that off as possible. Some of these areas that I didn't really do much filler work in that have got a few little pits. I should have done a bit more time up here. There's some pits up here that I didn't fill, but it's under a trim up here anyway, so it won't be seen, but I'm not gonna do it now. Too close to squirting some paint. I've rubbed through in a few spots as well, so I'll have to come back and do a couple of little spot primes here and there, and then hopefully ready to squirt some of the colour onto this thing. Then you can see what the colour is going to be. Right, that'll be exciting, won't it? I'm excited to see what it looks like on a larger surface. When you see the colour, you might go, ah, that makes sense. Well, you might not. You might just kind of go, yeah, distinct colour. But yeah, with the 320, I managed to flatten out quite a lot of the kind of orange peel that I sprayed into it with this stuff. I really should have checked out my air pressures a bit more, and pay a bit more attention to that when I'm priming and painting and stuff. Because if you got a good air pressure, you got the air pressure dialed in better, I reckon you get a better finish. But I've been kind of struggling with my spray guns that I've got. They're kind of pretty cheap, nasty sort of things, but you can do nice work with them. But I just got to dial them in proper. You know what I'm saying? So I get really impatient. I just want to start. It's a bit the same with my welding. I just want to kind of get into it and do it, and then excuse me, and then I pay the price because I rushed into it. I should really give that a bit of a sand so it's dry in there. And I got some 80 grit paper today for cutting down the Bondo and fog, because the old 40s a bit scratchy, and it leaves some big scratches in there which I found in my spray putty and shit like that, or my surfacer. And yeah, they took a bit more sanding out, hence a few more rub throughs in a few places and whatnot, stuff that I didn't find when I was rubbing back the bog, you know. Probably could have did away with the old 40 grit a little bit sooner than I did. Probably should have filled those little dings there. I don't know what they are, but battle scars from some time in this car's life, and I kind of want to keep some. Don't know why. Personally think cars that have got a few imperfections and little things like that looks like it might have been someone's repair thing. That could have been a factory thing, just hammering down that joint and then sending it off to paint, you know. I don't know whether that was a thing in the old Chevrolet factories. Can't remember. I did look up what factory this car was built in, but I can't remember now, so I'll say Detroit, because that's where most of them were built. Well, lots of American cars are built. That's just a guess though, don't quote me on that. Yes, I mean that could have been a thing. They did all sorts of weird stuff manufacturing and assembling these cars. This car on the inside, it looks like it had two different guys with two completely different skill levels spot welding it together, because one side's really neat, the other side's just all over the shop. My 65 Sport Fury, my Plymouth that I had, where all the sills and the inner floors were all pinch welded together. One side was like about almost an inch different from the other side. It was crazy. But everything worked, everything lined up. I don't know quite how, but it did. Anywho, you guys can get out of the way. I want to get in here. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all the sanding, all Dunsky on this Firewall, but I'll have to give it a bit of a sand once I've, you know, where I've rubbed through here, and there's a couple of light spots there and through there and a bit there, but there's a few all over the place. So not doing that tonight though. We'll maybe tomorrow night we'll go and we'll squirt a little bit more primer, spot primer, rub that back, and then we'll be ready to hit the colour that you've been waiting so patiently for. Hey guys, right, so next day, I think, I don't know when I filmed last, I think it's yesterday, been round and done a bit of spot priming on the rub throughs and stuff. On the whole, this 2-pack high build primer filler that I use it's quite good. It actually rubs up quite nice. It's a bit slow to cure from you know what I'm used to, which is just like Dulon lacquer type stuff, which is pretty much air dry. But yeah, once it actually cured up, like once I left it the proper overnight sort of thing, it actually rubbed back like super nice. The wet sanding was going well, but then when I sort of went over it again, you could kind of see a lot more of where I'd been and where I hadn't been and stuff like that, and taking it down a bit further. So anyway, it's pretty good. I quite like it. So as far as the slower curing and stuff like that goes, I was just being impatient. When I come to do the rest of this, the body and things like that, it'll be like, you know, when I hit that high build primer stage, I'll be like laying that down and that'll be it for the day sort of thing, because, you know, there's a bit there. Got all the guards and the bonnet and all that kind of stuff to do as well, so I'm not quite sure how we're going to go about it, but we'll get there. But anyway, so the next stage here, I'm just going to give this a bit of a final little sort of grey Scotch Brite down, just to sort of take the sort of slight fuzz off the spot primes I did, and hopefully not rub through again, before we can squirt some of the colour on there that you've all been waiting for with bated breath. Yes, I know, yes, I know. It's coming, it's coming. It's after work, so I don't know whether I'll do it tonight or whether I'll wait till the weekend, but I really want to get some colour on this thing, because I'm just itching to see it myself. So I'm just going to use a bit of grey Scotchy on this, just to you know, kind of do that. Just take the sort of fuzziness off. I wonder if I should use red. That's a little bit heavier. No, it's just scratching it up, I guess. Maybe I might go over it with the red Scotch-Brite. It's a little bit coarser, just so it's kind of got a better key to stick to the colour. I'd hate to have stuff start peeling off because I made it too smooth, you know. Red Scotch-Brite. Check it out. Bought me by the New Zealand equivalent to a Harbour Freight spray gun. Picked that up from Mitre 10. I do have another HVLP gun, but it's got a massive cup on it. It's like huge. I actually did find another smaller cup that probably fits on it, but I didn't find that till after I bought this, and I should stop smacking it with this. And I need to be able to kind of get up under those areas there, so this big cup, and the lid doesn't stay on my other one as well, so splashed out the quick hundy and bought this. Have never used it before, so the only way to learn these things is to just hook into it and give it a shot. So gotta dust this off one more time and get into it. Stir up some paint and do some painting. Well, there's the colour that you've all been waiting for with bated breath. It ended up being a bit of a custom blend, but it's got a kind of a white, kind of flip-flop, kind of greeny blue pearl thing going on. It may be a little bit too much moisture in the air for doing it tonight. I think it's going a little bit milky, even with retarder thinners and that in there. And I got a little bit heavy-handed right on that ridge there, and there's a bit of a sag happening, and so putting more paint on it's not going to fix that. I'm going to have to let that kind of cure up and try and rub it out and see if I can fix that. It's not too much of a biggie. There's going to be an engine and everything in the way there anyway if there is a little imperfection, but yeah, it's hard to tell whether it's kind of going milky or whether that's the kind of pearl flip thing that it has going on in the colour. It feels like it's going a bit milky in here, which pretty much won't polish out. So, but with Geelong lacquer you can just flow coat a real thin coat clear over the top of it on a warmer, drier day, and it'll smooth that out. So I'm going to leave that to I'm just going to leave that till the weekend now, and let that sort of harden up and whatnot, and I'll try a little bit of wet and dry on those little saggy bits right there. You can see it. I wonder, you probably can see it on the camera, I don't know, but it's right there and there. It's going whoosh, whoosh, and there's a bit of a milky thing happening in the middle there. So I just got too impatient. It's just been raining forever and ever and ever. So I just wanted to kind of get some paint on there. I just want to see it. Also wanted to show you fellas what was going on with the old colour. So it took a little bit of dialing that in. Laying the colour down was one thing with it. Laying the clear down was another altogether, because at first it was going down real kind of peppery. I upped the pressure a little bit, and just to kind of like lay it on, get it to flow out a bit more. But again, like I said, it's probably a bit cold, and it got a bit much on there and it sagged. But yeah, I don't know, it's not too bad. It's flattening off a little bit now, but not the best at laying down metallics, but I'll give it a go. I don't have any formal training or anything like that in doing it. Well, kind of my formal training on signwriter apprenticeship, we did a lot of spraying and stuff, but yeah, nothing from the automotive trade that spray this kind of stuff all the time. It was always just kind of, you know, Dave, just go and paint that board. Okay, so I just used to do it. I used to get big sweeping lines and metallic stuff I did, but so I choose to paint the cars and metallic stuff. But yeah, so that's where we will leave it for now. Yeah, so I think it has gone milky there, but that's alright, we'll fix that, but not today. So that's where I'm going to leave this video on the Area 51 update. Got some colour on there. Wrong kind of weather to be painting in the garage with this type of paint product, with no heating and things like that. Probably didn't put quite enough retarder thinners in that last coat, just to it slows the drying down, and it stops it sucking so much moisture into something like that anyway. So I'll leave that till the weekend and give it a bit of a rub back. Might even come down maybe in a couple of nights and give it a bit of rub down and see what happens with it. Probably won't polish out. I'll probably have to give it a bit of that kind of flow coat type thing with some, just re-soften it type of thing. But I'll try and rub those sags out. Hopefully it's not in the colour, hopefully it's just in the clear, but it has got that, yeah, it's moved the kind of pearl, I think. But yeah, anyway, my battery died, so I got a bit heavy over there, and yeah, like I say, I'll give it another kind of quick flow coat over the weekend, rub back some stuff and see what happens to it. May have to respray the colour, I don't know how you blend it, but we'll give it a shot anyway. Probably end up with blend mark, but it's in the engine bay. That's why I'm doing this first, just sort of experiment with the colour and the paint and the spray gun and shit like that, just to see how it goes. But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave this video. Thanks for watching as always, and if you haven't subscribed, get on there, hit the button, subscribe, like, share, comment, all that kind of stuff, and yeah, follow along, see the next steps on this thing, painting cars in a dust bowl of a garage. So until next time, take it easy and peace. Colour.